Okay, you guys, so I'm trying to get to the bottom of Cardi B issuing what fans are calling a harsh warning to Stefon Diggs. And this one is already setting the internet on fire because the timing alone has people side-eyeing everybody involved. The headline that's circulating right now says Cardi B has reportedly warned Stefon Diggs after he welcomed 4 children with 4 different women in 2025. And baby, when I tell you the comments were not kind, they were ruthless. This isn't just celebrity gossip. This is one of those situations where hip-hop culture, athlete culture, and public opinion all crash into each other at the same time, and everybody suddenly feels entitled to an opinion on how someone should live their life. Now, let's get into the receipts, because this didn't just come out of thin air. According to reports floating around online, Cardi B allegedly had a very direct conversation with Stefon Diggs about boundaries, responsibility, and what 2026 is not going to look like. The chatter claims she made it clear there will be no more kids popping up next year, and people are running with that narrative like it's a press release. The blind item reads like this is less about jealousy and more about control and structure. But the internet is reading it 10 different ways depending on whose side they're already on. Some folks say she's protecting her peace. Others say she's trying to manage a situation that's already out of control. Let's be real though, 4 kids with 4 different women in 1 year is not no light work. That's not a rumor you casually scroll past, especially when the man involved is dating one of the most talked about women in the world. Even if you take Cardi B out of it, people would still be reacting. But because it's Cardi, suddenly everyone's a relationship expert, a moral authority, and a fertility planner all in one. You've got fans saying it's too late for Cardi to be issuing warnings because if this is the situation already happened. And honestly, that's where the conversation gets uncomfortable but real. The commentary online is wild because some fans are genuinely confused about what Cardi is supposed to do in this scenario. It really makes you wonder how much of this conversation is about concern and how much of it is about projecting expectations onto her because she's Cardi B. People are saying, why speak now? Why not walk away? Why stay and try to lay down rules? And then on the flip side, you've got people applauding her for speaking up at all, saying any woman would want clarity and boundaries in a relationship like this. If this is true, it's very concerning on multiple levels, not just romantically, but logistically. Then there's the part that really had me shaking my head, and that's fans telling Cardi B she's being stingy and that she should let other women have their chance with Stefon Diggs. I'm sorry, what? That's when you realize social media has completely detached from reality. Since when did asking for stability turn into being selfish? That narrative right there says more about the commenters than it does about Cardi. And let's not forget, these same people will turn around tomorrow and drag her for not protecting herself emotionally. You can't win with the internet, and Cardi knows that better than most. Another layer to this is how people are framing Cardi's role versus Stefon's responsibility. A lot of the discourse is weirdly centered on what Cardi should tolerate, accept, or manage, instead of focusing on the pattern being discussed. Let's be real, nobody forced anyone into anything, but accountability seems to disappear when a celebrity man is involved. The conversation should be about choices and consequences, not about telling a woman when she's allowed to speak up. That's the part people keep skipping over because drama gets more clicks than nuance. You also have to look at Cardi's history. This is someone who has been very transparent about her boundaries, her mistakes, her growth, and what she will and won't accept. So the idea that she'd suddenly stay silent in a situation like this doesn't even match her personality. She's never been the type to sit quietly while the internet narrates her life for her. Whether people agree with her or not, consistency matters, and Cardi has always been consistent about speaking her mind. At the end of the day, this whole situation feels like one of those moments where fans are confusing entertainment with entitlement. You can discuss it, sure, but acting like you get to decide who should stay, who should leave, and who should share a grown man is wild. That's not commentary, that's chaos. And honestly, the way this is playing out online says more about how people view relationships in celebrity culture than it does about Cardi B or Stefon Diggs themselves. So continuing from that, what really pushed this whole situation into overdrive was how fast the narrative flipped from concern to mockery. Once fans latched onto the idea that Cardi B warned Stefon Diggs, the jokes started flying, memes popped up, and suddenly this wasn't about relationship boundaries anymore. It became a punchline. That's when you could tell this struck a nerve. People weren't just reacting to the alleged warning, they were reacting to the optics of power, fame, and choices all colliding in public. And let's be real, when you're a high-profile athlete and your personal life starts trending more than your stats, that's a problem, whether people want to admit it or not. What stood out to me is how some fans immediately jumped to the conclusion that Cardi was trying to control Stefon Diggs. That word got thrown around a lot, and it really makes you wonder why setting limits is always framed negatively when a woman does it. If the roles were reversed and a male celebrity said he didn't want more kids popping up, people would call it leadership or maturity. But because it's Cardi, suddenly it's painted as insecurity or jealousy. Let's be real, that double standard is loud and it's tired. Another angle people aren't really talking about is how this situation impacts the kids involved. 4 children with 4 different women in a single year is not just a headline, it's a lifetime responsibility. And while fans are busy arguing about whether Cardi should stay or go, nobody's really addressing the long-term reality of that. That's not no light work, emotionally or financially. And if Cardi is thinking ahead, trying to bring some structure into chaos, that doesn't make her wrong, it makes her human. Then you've got the crowd saying Cardi should have known what she was getting into. That argument always comes up, and it's lazy. People grow, situations evolve, and new information changes how you see things. Acting like someone forfeits the right to speak up because they stayed too long is unfair. If this is true, it's very concerning how quick people are to dismiss her voice while amplifying rumors at the same time. You can't say she should have left and she should stay quiet in the same breath. Let's also talk about Stefon Diggs for a second, because he's almost being treated like a background character in his own story. Fans are either defending him blindly or clowning him endlessly, but very few are actually holding him accountable as a grown man making grown decisions. The conversation keeps circling back to Cardi's reaction instead of his actions, and that's telling. That's how celebrity culture works, though. The louder personality gets scrutinized, while the quieter one slips through the cracks. Social media seems split on whether this will last. Some fans think this warning is the beginning of the end, while others think this is just a rough patch that every high-profile couple goes through. It really makes you wonder how much of this conversation even comes from within the relationship versus the constant noise from outside. When millions of people are dissecting your life in real time, even private conversations become public debates. And let's not ignore the fans who straight up said Cardi should let other girls have their chance. That comment section energy was unhinged. Relationships are not auditions, and men are not community property just because they're famous. That mindset is exactly why celebrity relationships rarely survive without drama. People forget these are real humans, not storylines written for entertainment.